Senator Hirono.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Judge Jackson, aloha to you and your family and all of your friends. I also note that there are members of the U.S. House here to support you, as well as members of the public. So aloha to all of you. Congratulations, Judge Jackson, on all that you have accomplished throughout your life and career. I realize that a lot of your background and experiences have already been cited, but there are things that are worth repeating, so I'm going to repeat some of them. You were the national champion in speech and debate as a high schooler. You have undergraduate and law degrees from Harvard, each with honors. 3 clerkships in federal court, including one at the Supreme Court for Justice Breyer, whom you have been nominated to replace. You have an accomplished career as a lawyer at the trial and appellate levels, both in private practice and as a public defender. 2 stints at the U.S. Sentencing Commission, including as vice chair. 9 years as a federal judge, first in the D.C. District Court and currently in the D.C. Circuit Court. And now you've been nominated to the United States Supreme Court. I have enjoyed reviewing your record and getting to know you over the past few weeks. And now the American people will get to know you over the course of this week. Beyond your impressive credentials, here are a few other things I want the American people to know. You were born in Washington, D.C. to 2 public school teachers. You moved to Miami, Florida at a young age, so your dad could go to law school. And you were inspired to pursue a career in law by watching your dad study for his law classes at the kitchen table. You first considered attending Harvard, a thought that hadn't previously entered your mind after attending a speech and debate competition on the Harvard campus during high school. And then you thought, this is possible. You've been confirmed 3 times by the Senate, all on a bipartisan basis, first to the Sentencing Commission and later to be judge on the D.C. District Court and the D.C. Circuit Court. You're the 2nd generation in your family to go to college and worked extremely hard to get to where you are today. You are a wife and mother of 2 children. Clearly, your life and your career have more than prepared you to serve on our nation's highest court, which is why it is no surprise that there is broad consensus across the political spectrum that you are an eminently qualified and fair person to serve on the Supreme Court. As former 4th Circuit Judge Michael Luddick, a George H.W. Bush appointee, said, you are, quote, as highly credentialed and experienced in the law as any nominee in history, end quote. In history, that's over 200 years. 23 attorneys general said Judge Jackson is a highly qualified legal mind who has been at the forefront of the legal field for decades and will serve our nation well as the first Black woman to serve on the U.S. Supreme Court. A group of law enforcement officers from across the country said, quote, Judge Jackson brings a depth of character, public service, and judicial service that leads to but one conclusion. She is eminently qualified to serve on the Supreme Court of the United States, end quote. You are an accomplished jurist, having issued nearly 600 opinions that demonstrate a clear, even-handed approach to the law. You have sided with workers, with employers, for and against the government, for prosecutors, and for criminal defendants. Former D.C. Circuit Judge Thomas Griffith, a George W. Bush appointee, summed it up best when he said, you, Judge Jackson, quote, will adjudicate based on the facts and the law and not as a partisan, end quote. Having reviewed your record, I strongly agree with this statement. But you are not just extremely qualified to serve as a Supreme Court. Your nomination is, of course, an historic one. The Supreme Court has existed for over 233 years. And of the 115 justices in the history of the Supreme Court, only 5 of them have been women, only 2 have been Black, and not a single one has been a Black woman. This is a court that has decided cases that have had sweeping effects on everyday life, as a number of my colleagues have pointed out, including decisions that have solidified rights for the LGBTQ plus community, decisions that have empowered women, that have strengthened unions, and more. But this is also the same court that has, throughout the course of history, upheld slavery, Jim Crow laws, and the unlawful internment of Japanese Americans. For over 233 years, the individual making decisions that have altered the course of this country have almost exclusively been white men. It's pretty remarkable when you consider the power that this court has and the historical lack of diversity of the people who exercise that power, the justices. But instead of celebrating the long overdue diversity Judge Jackson would bring to the court, some of my Republican colleagues and public figures have attempted to undermine your qualifications through their pejorative use of the term affirmative action. And they have implied you were solely nominated due to your race and not for other factors. Apparently, some have even claimed that you need to show your LSAT scores to determine whether you are a top legal mind. This is incredibly offensive and condescending. Let me be clear. Your nomination is not about filling a quota. It is about time. It's about time that we have a highly qualified, highly accomplished Black woman on the Supreme Court. It's about time our highest court better reflects the country it serves. It's about time that Black women and girls across the country can finally see themselves who look like them sitting on the highest court, making decisions that will impact their lives. And they will know that it is possible for them to do the same. One cannot overstate the importance of representation. Your experiences and your background as a trial judge, a public defender, a mother, a Black woman, and so much more provide you with a uniquely different perspective than any of the 8 other justices on the court. Like your mentor, Justice Breyer, I know you will engage with the other justices, both liberal and conservative. You are a consensus builder to share their perspectives, challenge their views, and shape the court's direction for the better. With the personal and professional diversity you bring, you will expand the experience and knowledge of the Supreme Court, and the decisions the court makes will be better as a result. Before I end, I also wanted to mention I was so glad to hear you reference Constance Baker Motley during your introductory press conference at the White House. Constance Baker Motley was an icon of the civil rights movement. As a lawyer for the NAACP Legal Defense Fund, she helped craft the argument in Brown v. Board of Education that finally put an end to separate but equal. She was the first Black woman to argue before the Supreme Court, ultimately arguing 10 cases before the court and winning 9, including the case that allowed James Meredith to enroll at the University of Mississippi. She became the first Black woman appointed as a federal judge, serving on the Southern District of New York for 20 years. And in a world free from discrimination, she may have been the first Black woman to sit on the Supreme Court some 50 years ago. As you said at your press conference, you stand on Judge Motley's shoulders. I have no doubt there will be a generation of young girls who will stand on yours. I also have no doubt that you will respond forcefully to some of the allegations that have been lodged against you, Judge Jackson. I congratulate you and your family on this historic nomination. I look forward to hearing from you this week. Mahalo and aloha.